Good morning, family. My name is McKinley. I'm an addict. It's a great day to be clean. I just want to have a moment of silence. I can get out of the way and invite God in, invite the God of your understanding in, and move myself aside so that his message can come through me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I want to thank the committee for putting this on. It means a lot to be asked, to come and share in an area that's now become my home for the last 2.5 years. And I was taught early in recovery, right? We got a lot of wonderful life-saving literature. But McKinley, we suggest you get another piece of literature. It's called Webster's Dictionary. And because of that, I download their app. So when I was asked to share on courage to change, because see, a lot of times I think I know shit and I think I know the meaning of things and I'd be missing the mark. So here we go. I looked up courage and it says mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. When I was using, it was dangerous, it was fearful, and it was difficult. Right? So, what I know is when I came in these rooms, I came here filled with trepidation and fear. I was around people that I needed to have my guard up at all times, and I'm one of these people you'll never hear, you can, whatever cliches you like to say, cool. I don't agree with my best thinking got me here, because it didn't. Prior to coming to the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, my best thinking was 3 for 50, copping short, smoking your shit, and keeping mine, period. I didn't have any, great thoughts of aspirations of what I could, was going to do. And, it's a blessing because I got a partner here that came down to support me. And he's known me through the good, the bad, the ugly. He knew my parents, but he was one of the people that they called when they were baffled by my behaviors and active addiction. And he's always stood by my side, and I love you, Rod. And, man, everything I say, everything you hear come out of my mouth, I stand on the shoulders and the backs of my predecessors. They taught me everything in here. It was like a wonderful story handed down over time. When there was no step working guide and you had to get with your sponsor and allow them to say, I want you to focus on we for a week. I want you to go to the meeting and be quiet for a month and listen. See, I didn't have the ability to listen to anything because when you were talking to me, only thing I was focused on is what my response was going to be. So I really didn't hear you. I was just programmed to have my response ready to how I was going to deal with that. And so I came in here and I began to listen. And see, the old timers, this shit wasn't this mandy panty, hold your hand through all the bullshit. They said, sit your ass down, shut up. If we need you to cop, we'll send you. I don't hear a lot of that anymore. That shit was real. But then if they heard your stomach grumble, they took you out to eat with them afterwards. And they put you in your car, regardless of how you smelled. And they loved me, so I had the ability to love myself. I said I wasn't going to get emotional, but I ain't got a problem coming up here and getting naked. Because I'm going to free myself. I'm going to leave here free. This cat told me one time, he said, look, McKinley, when you go to a convention, retreat, anything, take an assignment. He said, my sponsor told me, you're supposed to bring something old and take home something new. Right? And authenticity, that's a powerful word because that's being your true self. Narcotics Anonymous allows me to do that. It allows me to like strip away all the layers, all the, like we talk about, the confusion and contradiction that was associated with active addiction, and like getting rid of that. And then coming, to believe that a power greater than me could restore me to sanity because I was absolutely insane. And also, like, our literature, everything's put together so well. It talks about hard-won experience. Guess what? It's just that. If it wasn't, it'd be called easy-won experience. So, like, I come in here, I'm a dude, I couldn't get off of a 3-block radius in Homewood, Preston, Pennsylvania. I've been at a world convention in Barcelona, Spain, right? I've seen addicts. I got this T-shirt in Philadelphia at the convention in 2013. A friend of mine, Anders W. from Sweden, and we had met on Facebook, and then he came to Philly, and I met him, and I got this T-shirt, right? In our message, man, I'm telling you, like, he invited me to a Zoom meeting in Sweden, and like I couldn't understand a word they were saying, but I felt the energy of the message of Narcotics Anonymous. Doesn't matter what language it's in. And the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is being without parallel. Like all this stuff that is written, I'm telling you, like if you get into this stuff and you embrace the literature and what it says, and we've never seen an addict follow this way in relapse. All the relapses I ever had was when I took my will back, did what I wanted to do. And I remember this therapist, I was in treatment in 1991. My clean date is December 8th, 98. I was in treatment facility in 91. I was 23 years old in Gambrills, Maryland, down by Annapolis. And there was this old therapist, Bill, and he used to say he wouldn't let you sit in his groups like this. He said, because if you sat like this, it meant you were closed off. And 34 years later, if I find myself crossing my arms in a meeting, I uncross them. And it's so powerful because I remember like in my last days of using, like, see, the message, we carry this outside of the meetings. Like you come into meetings, yeah. My man Thomas says, what are you doing in a 22-and-a-half-hour meeting, McKinley? And he also came to me. I know there was a time I was going through it. I was struggling early in recovery. He said, look, I want to remind you of something. I said, what's that, bro? He said, you're a champion. He said, you know what makes you a champion? I said, what? He said, champions know how to play hurt. And I played hurt a lot of times in this process. I've been on the NA Gazette, went to jail, 22-and-a-half years clean over behaviors that I wasn't addressing. That's why I'm in this area. But see, like God has a way of moving you from one situation to another without your permission. So, and the longer I stay here, the more teachable I try to remain. I come here, I listen to everybody. They told me, come early, listen to the meetings. That's only good hit we guarantee, McKinley. Tell them what the hell's going to come out of my mouth or Joe the addict's mouth. Come listen to the readings, man. And so I got a responsibility now as a more experienced member to carry what was carried to me. So I walked into a meeting Thursday night, and there were these 3 young ladies sitting on the couch, and they were newcomers. And there were spots at the table, and I said, I'm going to make a suggestion. Can you come up here and sit with us? Because we call this death row, relapse row, sitting in the back, missing the message. Get up front where you can get connected. Get plugged in. And like carrying a message outside of these rooms, man, I'm in Walmart. I'm a caregiver, right? And I got a client, so once a week, maybe twice, we're at Walmart. And he liked to drink. He'll be like, hit the state store for Walmart. Be like, all right, Bill. He does what he does do. But see, he knows I'm clean and he respects me and he doesn't drink and use or any of that in front of me. And I appreciate that. But anyway, I'm at Walmart. I run into this guy. with this girl, and they're doing some shopping. And he said, yeah, I remember you from the meeting in Youngwood, right? And see, prior to coming in to Walmart, I had a Marlikna hoodie on from the convention they have out there in Lancaster. I took it off because it was hot, right? It had gotten hot. And so I'm talking to him. We exchange numbers. I go out to my car. I'm getting ready to unlock my car to get in. This lady says, excuse me. I turned around. I said, yeah, she's pushing the car. She said, are you a sponsor? First thing I thought is this lady going to ask me to sponsor, and then I got to go through the thing that, I believe in men with the men with the men, women with women. My bloodline only sponsors men. Right? She said, I overheard your conversation and my significant other's entering treatment, and I wanted to know if I could have your number to pass along to him. I'm not sure if he's going to call you or not, but I want to have it in case he needs to call somebody. I said, absolutely. I said, my phone is never off. You can call me anytime, day or night. And if I don't answer the call, I'm going to promptly return it, because I understand that like people were there for me in any and all hours to answer my calls and to speak to me. And sometimes it's just about being able to listen. And that's another gift I've learned in here, is being able to listen. And like my daughter taught me that, throughout, the time that I spent with her, she taught me how to listen, right? And so, but that's what I mean. Like, we carry this message outside of the rooms, man. I'm in Marlikna sitting behind my buddy, this guy Sharon. He said, look, I want my video to match my audio. And I said, I lurched forward. I said, damn, my man turned around. Hey, you hear that? Yeah, I want my video to match my audio. I can come up here and talk good all day long. How you living, man? What are you doing when nobody's watching? I live alone, man. Basically do whatever I want, But like Narcotics Anonymous has built integrity in me. I'm the same person at home as I am out in public. And I love, the definition of integrity in the green and gold. It works how and why. It says integrity is a consistent application of spiritual principles regardless of the circumstances. So, see, it's my part. I don't give a shit what you say to me, do to me. It helped me the most with dealing with resentments. I was carrying what helped me deal with resentments is ain't nothing any of y'all ever did to me or could do to me in the streets, out of the streets, worse than what I did to McKinley. Once I got with that concept, I was able to free myself, and I truly believe that, like, once you get a taste of this thing, see, because at the end of my road, and I'm out, in the streets and trying to cop and dirty and stinking, and in those quiet moments of clarity I would have, I knew that there were people that were clean here, that I knew Narcotics Anonymous worked. I never doubted the power of Narcotics Anonymous, what was in these rooms, man, because it was evident to me from the first day. So if you got a seat here, I don't care if you got a day clean, guess what? Miracles already happened. Now it's just about the maintenance process. I got to give away give it away if I want to keep it, right? And it's just, and it gets easier. Like, I'm further away from drugs. I'm further away from the corner. Exact nature now. And I started my steps over. I got a new sponsor back in July, started my steps over. And like, my biggest struggle is with lust. I can fuck off as much money with that shit as I did using. And I got income coming in. It's more than enough for me to live comfortable. And I'm coming up on a payday, or I'm coming up on a bill, and I'm worried about what. Look, I want to get to the point where I can work the same principles that I did to stay clean with my financial situation. So I ain't got to check my fucking bank app every day on my phone. I want freedom from that. My mother was the best financial manager ever in the history of the world, as far as I'm concerned. I could get in a pinch, God bless her, she's gone, but like, I could get in a pinch, I could go to my mom, be like, Mom, I need $500. She'd be like, baby, step out of the room for a minute. Rodney will tell you, step out of the room for a minute, baby. Hit her stash, come out, bam. And I don't have that bailout anymore. But what I know is like I have the ability to do that, man. I stopped smoking crack cocaine, man. I can do anything, anything. And sometimes it's about calling somebody for some support. Hey, I'm getting ready to hit the massage spot. I really don't want to do it because later tonight I'm going to feel dirty and feel like shit. But I'm ready to do that. And I got to tell on it like in my step work, like that's what's in that first part of the step, man. Talking about exact nature. I ain't going to come in here and talk all around the exact issue. The exact issue is like, how many? 2 minutes? Okay, the exact issue is like, a big butt and a smile like that's, I tell my man, that's right in my wheelhouse. Half my age, right in my wheelhouse. So again, but man, when I turn it over, man, and don't take it back and continue to trust and believe that like people are going to restore me to sanity. I had a conversation with Rodney a couple months ago and I was switching sponsors. And it was like, we were on the phone, right? But it was like he had a big ass mirror holding up. I'm looking in that motherfucker like, damn, that's you, right? And everything he said, he just reflected it back. And then finally he said, look, bro, he said, what about your daughter, right? If she was dating somebody who was treating her bad, what would you tell her? I said, tell her to get away from me. He said, there's your answer. Immediately restored to sanity. It didn't take a whole lot of this and that. And, he knows me. And I told him, we had a conversation. I said, look, I ain't an easy person to sponsor. I'm not an easy person to deal with a lot of times. He said, man, that might be the most real thing you said to me since I've known you. So yeah, man. But if you're new, welcome. If you're new, keep coming, man. This thing is amazing, man. The freedom to like go and move, travel about the country and see things that you never would have seen before when you were looking down, and man, I'm truly overwhelmed. Phil called me to ask me to share during the week is about 10:15. I went to bed at 9, right? He said, well, did I wake you up, babe? I said, yeah, well, what's up? And he asked me to speak, and I'm truly honored because, like I said, I'm just starting to get a foothold in Westmoreland County. I grew up in Monroeville, and I come from down that area. But what I know is like Narcotics Anonymous is so much larger than any one area or any of us that no matter where I go, I sit down, I check in, and I'm welcome here. God bless you, and thank you.